We were passing by this farm in Puerto Jesus, Guanacaste province, and we couldn't resist. We couldn't help but want to find out what was so delicious that was being cooked, and hopefully we wouldn't be left with a craving. Because in Costa Rica they take life easy, their calm and relaxed lifestyle makes them friendly, generous, and kind hosts that make their guests feel part of the family. The smell led us to Yuri, who with her big smile welcomed us and invited us into her kitchen, where she was preparing one of her favorite recipes. Between shrimp and shrimp she not only revealed some culinary secrets, but also the story of how her husband and she ended up dedicated to the production of shrimp larvae, a subject that now they are very passionate about. She and her good colleagues told us more about their experience. This farm belongs to Mr. Freddy Dario Sierra. He has 3.5–4 hectares and has very good productions. Because he works very well, he has the advantage of being the producer of larvae. He has a laboratory where he sells most of it to the people of the Gulf, and then everything he has left over from his sowing, he uses it on his farm, so sometimes he has to sow. Normally we sow 8, 10, 12 shrimp per meter, and sometimes Dario is sowing at 20 to 25, 30 shrimp per meter, so that is why he has aerators. He has better advantages in that sense, so his productions are quite good. At the bottom where the engine is, there is a reservoir where he pumps the water so that it settles there, and then it goes to the 2 cultures, where one is a pre-breeding. He casts the larvae, develops them a month and a half, and passes them to the fattening, where it is very fast because there will be more space, so that shrimp will develop faster. Here in Costa Rica, we are basically working with semi-extensive farming. We have tried intensive farming and have not had satisfactory results. Normally we work at 10 per meter average. Here in Costa Rica there is no maturation laboratory to acquire the seed, it has to be brought from Guatemala or Ecuador. For this farm it is brought from Guatemala, and that laboratory supplies all the producers in this area. The laboratory normally works 10 cycles of about 20 days on average each, for an annual production of about 100 million larvae. For the seeding of the nauplius hatching egg in the ponds of the laboratory, it is essential to use oceanic water that is rigorously treated with special processes. Then what is done is to have a reservoir tank and bring the water in trucks to start the cycle. The previously disinfected tanks are seeded. There it develops for more or less 17 to 20 days to reach a commercial post larva. Some of it is sold and some of it is worked here. Initially we have to have the algae to feed the nauplius. Then it passes to live food, which is Artemia, and ends with commercial concentrates to reach the post-larva phase, which is the one that is already commercial and can be planted in the pools. The algae basically arrives in small bottles in test tubes. From there it is replicated to 200 milliliter tanks. 2 milliliters of algae are applied. Nutrients are applied, which are mostly major and minor elements and vitamins. From there it is replicated to 6-liter gallons. And there it is applied as a milliliter of algae with nutrients as well. such as major and minor elements and vitamins. From there it is replicated to 18-liter bottles. From there, 500 milliliters of algae are applied. From there, they go to the pools, which is approximately 1 ton of water. For each pool 2 drums are applied, ideally 3 days before the nuclei come. It goes from the pool to where the nuclei are going to be planted, which would be in the tanks that have approximately 4 tons of water. So there it is applied for about 5 minutes. 5 minutes of algae per tank. In order for the algae to maintain its properties in the laboratory, the temperature must be 24 degrees Celsius. The algae will be the nuclei's first food for approximately 3 to 5 days. That is all they are going to eat, nothing else. Then they are given liquid and powdered food. And after 5 days of algae, this food is applied to them. The larvae initially when it is nucleus starts with sodinic water that has a high salinity, then after 3 to 4 days it changes to another phase of development, which is the mesis isabia that is done by applying a replacement, and when it reaches the final stage which is post-larva it requires a daily replacement of 40%, because it is already a feeding of concentrates, it demands more oxygen. It pollutes more. The volume of biomass in the tanks grows so the salinity is lowered and the replacement is increased. There are 2 seasons here, the dry season and the rainy season. During the dry season, cold winds predominate, so the laboratory must be kept closed because temperatures tend to drop. And during the rainy season, which is the time of high temperatures, it is necessary to ventilate a little to maintain the temperature level in the tanks. After spending 20 days in the laboratory tanks, they are already in their larval stage. And for these producers it is the ideal moment to take them to the pre-breeding pool. Pre-breeding is a very old technique that has been applied since the beginning. But it was stopped because someone tried the direct technique and it was better. Now because of the problem that diseases have increased, so we have a pre-breeding phase. Those who can, who have the design for that, what we intend is to plant a real number. The aim is to sow a real number of shrimp of that size and the mortality in the pool is less. So you already know how much you sowed, how much survived from there, and you gain a part of the time. So you gain a part of the time in terms of cycling, while you are producing here, there it has already started. So those 30 days that you have the shrimp you have already gained it in a smaller area. Pre-breeding shrimp consume normal concentrate, preferably 35%, and should receive at least 4 to 5 daily rations where they see that it is more concentrated. So they need more feeding time. And in the fattening phase it is reduced to 2 to 3 portions per day, but preferably concentrate of larger diameter, larger size. That is the first food they are given. They are given about 2 kilos. First they are ground because they are very small, so they will not be able to eat the whole grain. Jorge tells us that the shrimp should not remain more than 30 days in pre-breeding or have more than 2 to 3 grams, which is the reference weight. Sometimes it goes to 5 because it is not finished here, but normally it is 3 to 5 grams maximum so as not to have problems in the pre-farming because then it exceeds the pool's load capacity. Right now we are applying 20 kilos of 5 grams. In the first one, when it is too much, they get a little stressed. They tend not to eat, so one day they are left without eating, and the next day if they are fed. It also depends on the biomass. Right now there are 800 kilos. Today we are going to give them 20 kilos of feed. Starting tomorrow, if they eat well and they are not stressed, then we give them 20 in the morning and 20 in the afternoon. The system, if I am not mistaken, from Peru, they devised that the shrimp had to eat in plates to be sure how much they ate and if they ate it all, and to control the supply. So they used the feeding tables. The idea is that each feeder is given a portion according to the amount, and the feeder tells if they are eating, if they are not eating, if they ate it all, if they did not eat it all, and if they are feeding well. The harvest depends basically on the size requested by the buyer, and it also depends on the fact that it is necessary to make a more or less molting analysis so that it is fit for consumption. Also, in the rainy season in some farms, lately it does not occur, but there are some bloom of seedlings that give a bad taste, the bad taste of corn, which is an incorporation of algae in the organism. If the shrimp turns greenish, it is necessary to quarantine it and take care of it. The pool must be previously lowered, but take into account that it is not going to heat up. Do not lower it too much. Previously it was harvested at night to avoid those changes, now it is harvested early in the morning. Shrimp farming in Costa Rica is a source of work for the really marginalized coastal areas of this country, where there is an average of 1,600 to 2,000 permanent jobs and an average of 4,000 to 5,000 occasional jobs, a fairly good solution for these areas. However, we still lack a lot for shrimp farming as it should be. The environmental management is basically in these production processes that use probiotic, so that the water that is eliminated is as clean as possible. The management of the farm in terms of feeding, in terms of the preparation of the bottoms, that the bottoms keep healthy and everything, guarantee that the water of the discharges is healthy for the environment. Basically that would be in matters of management and production strategies to avoid this problem and work these extensive crops that are friendly and sustainable with the environment. I invite you to consume the shrimp that is produced here in Costa Rica. It complies with all the production norms, the sanitary norms of SENASA, the norms imposed by the national legislation, control of Incapesca, control of Viney. It is a shrimp that is already guaranteed for health and is a source of work for many families, so in this case we need to raise awareness of consumption of this product. Ready for lunch, garlic shrimp, nothing better to end this pleasant chat we had with Yuri, William and Jorge.